Can y'all hear that? Is that a chicken? It might be a chicken. Oh my gosh. So in the past 5 years, I've watched dozens and dozens of families do exactly what we did, which is move their families from the US, Europe, everywhere in the world to move to the continent, to places like Gambia, Ghana, Senegal, Nigeria, South Africa, you name it. And they were excited, they were hopeful, they were convinced that this was their African dream. And within 24 months, most of them left, packed up, went back. And some couples actually didn't go home together because sometimes the marriage didn't survive the move. And no one is really talking about that. So if you're sitting with one foot in the US or the UK or wherever you are, and another in Africa where you're dreaming and thinking and planning about moving, I'm making this video not to scare you, but to give you the reality, the real around how a move will affect your business, your marriage, your relationships, and the things that you thought were certain in your life. So I'm gonna walk you through 3 patterns that I've watched destroy more diaspora dreams than any single thing. We're gonna talk about the cash flow trap, the wrong business trap, and the marriage trap. And these things are not random, they're predictable, which is why I'm doing this video, so that you can get ahead of them and not fell for them. And the reason why we are still here, still standing, still thriving 5 years later is not because we are better than any other family, it's just that we had heads up and we knew these things before we moved. Let's face it, most of the content online on YouTube right now does 2 things. Either they're selling you this dream of vacation and beaches and things are doing great and Africa is the future and where you need to be and you must be because life is easy. Or you're watching videos of people that say, I tried it, I lost all my money, I lost everything, and now I have to move back. I want to say that the truth is somewhere in the middle. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. The stats say that most families fail, but some families thrive. And today we're going to talk about it all. By the end of the video, you know exactly the 3 exact failure patterns. Did y'all see that power went out? Power went out while I'm recording. So let's go outside. You want to talk about the reality of living on the continent? I couldn't make this stuff up. Power went out also earlier, guys. When I was recording, I had a training, I had over 50 people on the Zoom call, and my power went out for about 3. Power went out, and so by the time we turned on the generator, we had lost, or whatever, I had been missing for 3 to 5 minutes. So let's talk about the cash flow challenge. And so it is hard to estimate exactly how much money you're going to need because it varies. It depends on your lifestyle. There are people that are thriving and living very well on $500 a month in the Gambia, but there are people who need $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, depending very much on your lifestyle and what it is that you want to achieve. So not necessarily being aware of all the costs of living cost and coming in and being shocked when you hear about cash power. I have a lot of videos where I try to break down exact costs of things, what surprised me, what didn't. Things like food, you might think, oh, everything is cheap in Africa, is what people say, and then you get here, you're like, hold on, I'm spending more on food on the continent in Gambia than I was when I was in Atlanta. And so miscalculating or not being aware of the cost of living is one of the big reasons why I believe people leave the continent, because they realize, wait a minute, I left my job. I left me a good paying job that was giving me X amount of money every single month. I thought I had enough money saved up just to find out that I don't. And so now I'm stranded and I'm looking at my bank account going down every single day. And that can be very nerve-wracking no matter who you are. What was very helpful for us that we did differently is that when we moved, I already had an online business that basically I left on Monday, and on Tuesday I was on a coaching call with my clients, and it didn't matter where I was. And what we had to do as well was my husband had to keep working from here with a remote job in the US because he was in IT at the time. And so that allowed us the flexibility for the first few years to be able to still maintain what we had and not be as worried and concerned about money. Number 2, the wrong business trap. I could go on and on. There are videos that I've made where I talk about the businesses that I believe will thrive on the continent, specifically in the Gambia. But having the wrong business model is such a big thing because you will move and people will tell you anything you want to hear. Oh yeah, you should start a U-Haul business. Oh yeah, you should start a electrical company. Oh yeah, you should start any idea that you give them. People will be like, oh yeah, you should start it. And then, oh yeah, you should start a restaurant. We don't have a restaurant here. Or we don't have this and we don't have that. And you start this business and you realize really really quickly, wait a minute, I didn't realize that during raining season, nobody goes out. Or I didn't realize that it was so difficult to find talent and staff. Or I didn't realize that it meant that I'm gonna need to be at this thing that I started every single day, otherwise the business can't run without me. Or I didn't realize power is gonna go out, right? All these things that you may not have realized month 1 or month 2 or month 3. And so you fall into starting these businesses that are new ideas to the market that might take a long time for the people to be able to adapt. Listen, people talk about being first to market. That's great, but a lot of people that are first to market are backed by investors. Because when you are having to teach a market about a new product, think Uber. I don't know if Uber is even profitable at this time. Your strategy is not to make money from day one because you understand that this is a long game you are playing. So when you're thinking about starting a business, you always want to look at the market. Am I going to need to teach this new idea like a U-Haul? We don't have U-Hauls here, and people are able to move and relocate and do all the things they do using donkeys, using cars, using trucks. And so if you come with the idea of a U-Haul, having to inform the market, teach them, having them stop doing the thing that the way they were already moving, having them stop the habit they had and build a new habit, all of that is time, is money. And a lot of the time, your $50,000, $100,000 that looked and sounded like a lot, you don't have time. How long can you sustain not making money in that business after you've invested that money? And so those are the questions. So I'll say be very wary when you are moving to a new place. But oh yeah, I just started this business, I started that business. Does that person have vested interest in that money? So is it a contractor that's telling you should build a hotel somewhere where there's no electricity? Of course he's going to say that. So really having unbiased strategic partner becomes really important, and studying, coming on the ground, coming and seeing and watching and observing is the first stage, if you ask me, of anyone that wants to invest. Because yes, mistakes will happen. And with business, there's no guarantee, right? You can do all of that and still not get a return on your investment. And so you want to really think about how much liquidity, how much play money do you have? Because when you are trying something new in a new market, you are really taking a risk. But that is really the nature of business. But there are people that lose a lot of money in business or in land. You hear a lot about people being scammed when it comes to land. They went and bought this huge acre of land, invested their retirement money in there, and realized that plot was already somebody else's plot. Plot twist, okay? Plot twist. So what we did differently, I wish I could say that we didn't make that mistake. We did. I started how do you call this business? I started a virtual assistant business when we first got here, maybe 2-3 months into it. And I lost money. I lost money because I didn't realize that the workforce wasn't necessarily ready for that. Now, that same business in Nigeria would have been great and would have worked, and it's working. There are people that have that very business model in Nigeria, and it is working really well. And so I didn't understand. I just assumed that you started and you find the talent, and that the hardest part would be for me to find the clients in the US that wanted a virtual assistant. That was not the case. I had a lineup of people that wanted the services and just couldn't really find the talent that I wanted here. So I made that mistake. We made that mistake. And so we live to tell the tale and share it here with you so that you don't make that mistake. I'll also say start lean, something that I learned from my father, who has had multiple successful ventures and multiple that failed, which is every successful person you know has to be able to tell you a few stories of businesses that fail, is to run a lean business, right? Just because you have $100,000 doesn't mean you should spend $100,000 on that venture. No, ma'am. No. And trusting the wrong people. I hear people say, hey, they quoted me $100,000. I gave them $100,000 to build me a house, and I came in, it was not a house. Yeah, because this is a different place, right? In the US, you give $100,000, a down payment is backed. It's backed by the bank, it's backed by these people, the builders, and you can Google them, you can find their reputation. Here, you can't do all of that. So you have to be very wary. You cannot just trust. You really literally cannot just trust, because there's no way for you to Google and check and see, oh, has this company really been doing what they say they've been doing? Is it really going to cost $100,000? I don't want to say there's no company, right? But for most small mom and pops that are quoting you, life happened, right? Giving $100,000, what most people do on the continent, let me say this, what most people do on the continent when they're building their own house is they do it little by little, petit à petit. Petit à petit, let's go buy this thing. Here's $500. Go buy this thing and let me see what you do with it. Let me get a quote for this part and let me see. Let me get the quote from the plumber for phase one. And then do it and have somebody that watch it and make sure that things are being done according to plan. This is not, I don't think the continent is yet a place where you just give your money and you go to sleep. I don't even know any place that does it. I have friends who have building houses in America, and they go see their plot all the time and make sure that things are being built. And they say, listen, when the builder knows that you come in and you are checking in on your investment, they do a better job. So same here. You can't just throw in $100,000 and go to bed and say, my brother or my cousin is going to take care of it. Listen, I'm not in your family. Listen, I ain't judging. I'm just saying. Okay. Number 3 is the marriage trap. It's so funny. I was being interviewed at the Palais de Congrès in Paris. That was a few months back, and we touched upon it a little bit, which was relationship. And people were saying, oh, relationship don't survive the move. And I said, listen, relationship don't survive a whole lot of things. So let's not blame it all on relocating. But relocation is one of the major life things that can happen to somebody. And so obviously stress will cause tension. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's not stressful to move. It is. It's stressful for the couple. It's stressful for the children. It is stressful. And if you guys are not aligned on your why, if one person wanted to do it more than the other, if one person had to convince, which is usually the case, there's usually somebody that sees the vision, sees the light, and convince the partner. But the thing there is, if the relationship was solid from the get-go, you're probably going to get closer, your communication skill, because you're all you got. So look at it the way you look at it. If your spouse was all you got for 6 months to a year, what would it do to your relationship? For some people, they'll be like, sign me up because we're going to ride it out. And some people will be like, don't do it. I don't want to be all you got because we can't, because we don't even got each other. And moving will surface the cracks in your relationship and in your marriage, and there's a lot at stake at that point. The emotions are high, normal comfort system, the normal where you could just drive to your mom and vent and rest and relax with the kids, that's all gone. It's you and this man, or you and this woman. And I've seen marriage not survive it. Now, I like to put things in perspective, guys. In the US, 50% of marriages don't work. So I don't want it to look like it's because we moved that we broke up. I don't know. I think depending on where and how the relationship was before the move, it might make things worse because it is stress. If you put stress on already something that's cracked, the cracked foundation, it's gonna break. And definitely moving is stressful. I would say that all the advice that I give about good relationship, communication, and all those things become really important. Finding your anchor, if you're a social person and you need that and you require that, making friends becomes really important. Listen, I'm not one to give relationship advice. I've been married for 18 years and I'm like, relationship is like school. You think you pass a grade and the next grade comes here, you're like, oh, hold up, I thought I had passed the grade. So I try not to come on here and give relationship advice, but I would say that I've seen relocation not change people, but change the dynamic of the relationship. I know when I was thinking about moving, I was very worried, especially when you're talking about moving to your home country. I've heard so many women, they don't always talk about it out loud, but they share with me that when you're moving and you're moving to your in-laws, depending on how they feel about you, this can be a problem, right? Because if you're moving and you're moving with your in-laws inside the house, that completely changes the dynamic altogether. So what does that look like? I've heard a lot of people say that, hey, Africa is great for the men, not for the women, because they have more freedom, no consequences, you can't call the police on them. And I've heard people say that you don't really know your spouse until they're in that space. I've heard people literally say, I had a great relationship, a great marriage, and then we moved and I met a new man. And that is challenging, and I can see why a lot of women are wary about moving. I was worried, because I was like, I know how our marriage works in America. I met you in America, we've been in America, I know you in America, and I know me in America. I don't know you on the continent, you don't know me on the continent either. And the stakes are so much higher. It's not just like you can be like, oh, I'm done, and you pack up your things and you go 5 miles away. You're done, you then do what? So I understand why you might have a spouse that's saying, hold up, bruh, we ain't ready. We ain't ready. I totally and completely understand, because I understand that makes the move so much more difficult. And then sometimes you have a situation where one person moves and the other person doesn't move. What does that do? long term. I told you guys that we had to do the back and forth for a little bit where he will have to go to work, come back, and so we'll go months sometimes. But we had been in for years. Now, if it's a new marriage and you just got married, so the dynamics are different. And yes, is it a factor? It is. I can't even lie to you. The children part is also a factor. You got some kids that come and they don't want to be here, and it makes the whole experience so difficult, so complicated. I'm grateful that we didn't have that situation. Our kids were still young when they were moving. And I think, I don't know, we were just blessed that way. So family definitely impact and affect where, you know, if you think about all three, so imagine that you're like, wait, I've lost my money in this business, okay? I'm running out of cash, and then on top of it, I'm having family problems and marital problems. This is not worth it. You can understand why people be like, this ain't worth it at all. I'm gonna pack up my thing. I can do that all by myself in my own country where I was from. I can see it, I can understand it. So there you go. Here are the three things that I often see as the reason why people relocate. Number one is cash flow. Number two is the wrong business. Number three is marriage, relationship, parenting. And so if you're watching this and you're shaking your head on one, two, or three of these things, then those are the areas that you really want to talk about, think through, fix before you relocate. Because once you iron those things out, like how are we going to start a business? What's the wise thing to do? Who is going to be our advisor when we do it? How are we going to make money and make sure that if our business takes time to make money, how are we going to sustain? And number three, how is our relationship going to hold? What are we going to do? What are we agreeing to doing here? And how is the current state of our relationship? And where do we need to be before we move? When you're able to outline these things, talk about these things, and listen, it makes your time on the continent relocating so much easier. So if you found this video helpful, drop a comment below and let me know what part was the thing that hit home for you, and let's continue that conversation. I read every single comment and I respond to all of my comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, subscribing, and liking, and I'll see you in the next video.